Welcome to the Mineral Way, where we unlock the power of minerals in warding off serious health conditions and boosting wellness. Tune in and discover there is a better way. The Mineral Way.
You are listening to pharmacist Ben Fuchs and myself, Dave Michaels, and we're going to be answering your phone calls, text messages, and emails. Phone calls can be answered at 831-479-1080. Text message 831-218-5726. You can email kscodave@gmail.com, or you can send a message by going to The Mineral Way. That's where you can find a link to buy all the longevity products that we're going to be talking about coming up next with pharmacist Ben Fuchs, so keep it tuned in. Oh man, Ben, I'm sweating over here. I'm dancing. I'm trying to do all this stuff. I'm trying to do back spins and all that.
Good music, though. I got to tell you, you got some good music going on.
You know how we do it, Ben. You know how we do it.
Are we on?
We're on. Yes, we're on the air. I'm gonna clear the phone lines now, Ben. I'm going to dedicate the phone lines only to our segment here. So if you want to speak with pharmacist Ben Fuchs, right now is the time to do it. 479-1080, pharmacist Ben Fuchs, the great pharmacist Ben Fuchs. Welcome aboard, Ben.
Thank you, David. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
I love coming on your show, and I love your Santa Cruz listeners.
Oh, yeah, they're the best.
Seriously smart. You got some smart listeners, man. Oh, my gosh.
Well, I mean, don't go too. I mean, some of the yes.
No, they're super smart listeners. Very impressive. I talk to people on the radio all the time, and Santa Cruzians, over the top.
Santa Cruz is a special place, man. You know, the whole our whole listening area is unique. It is a very.
You go to San Francisco? Are you up in San Francisco?
No, I don't go up there much. We're about an hour and a half south.
No, I mean, does the radio station go up there?
Oh, it goes just shy of San Francisco. Sometimes you can hear us in Oakland, real fuzzy, but you can hear us maybe in San Francisco, but it would be really fuzzy.
Okay, so most of your callers are just from the general Santa Cruz area?
Most of our callers are from Santa Cruz, Monterey, and San Jose. Yeah.
Cool.
Which is still a big area. You know, it goes from Silicon Valley down to Pebble Beach, out to Gilroy, and even further, Hollister. Goes way out there.
Very nice. All right. So what are you hearing about our podcast?
Oh, I'm hearing great things, Ben. People are always asking, how do I get on the show? How do I get on the podcast? And I tell them, you have to call at 6 o'clock on Mondays. But today is an exception, Ben. They can call right now with any questions. Any questions that they have.
All right, especially about the longevity products, but especially about the longevity business. Let's talk about the business.
Okay, all right, let's do it. Let's do it, Ben.
Yeah, the business opportunity is very underappreciated, especially nowadays. With the way the economy is and how hard it is to find a job. I don't care what people say about the job situation. It's really hard. I know a lot of folks who are looking for jobs and just can't find it, can't find gainful employment. And longevity is a great opportunity, not only obviously because the products are so good, but it's just the business opportunity.
Mm-hmm. But it is easier. It's much easier when you have a product that's good.
Yeah, of course. If you feel confident when you're talking about the product. It sucks to have to sell. I don't know if you ever had to do this. Have you ever had that sales job where you hated what you were selling or you didn't believe in what you were selling?
I have never had that happen to me, no.
I have to admit, I sold vinyl siding once. And I thought, when I graduated with my crappy journalism degree, I had to sell vinyl siding, and it was awful. And then I got a job working for a radio station that was this terrible radio station. Everywhere I went, they go, I remember you guys. You ruined my event. Everywhere I went, they was complaining about the station, and I had to sell advertising. That's when I decided I was going to go to pharmacy school.
Oh, man, Ben, that's probably a better choice.
Yeah, it was definitely a better choice. You know what? I'm so glad, even though I'm not, obviously I'm not big on pharmaceuticals, being a pharmacist gave me an opportunity to really understand the medicinal properties, the therapeutic value of the Mighty 90 essential nutrients. And that's why whenever I talk about them, I'm always talking about their mechanisms of action, how they work, and how disease works and how nutrients work in general and specifically how to alleviate disease. And I think that's what's missing from a lot of folks who are trying to promote nutritional products is they don't know how to back them up with the mechanisms of action from a scientific or a therapeutic perspective. And that's, to me, that's what I want to know. When somebody tells me about their supplement or tells me about their nutrients or about specific vitamins or minerals or aminos or fatty acids, I want to hear about the mechanism, how they work. That's what matters. And that's why longevity has been so successful for the last 26 years or so, what is it, 20? Yeah, I think 28 years now, is because their mechanisms stand the test of time. And the benefits that people get are, you can't deny it. It's indisputable, the kind of benefits that people get, everything from more energy to getting off their prescription drugs to losing weight to just feeling better.
Mm-hmm. Now, Ben, you have your ear close to the ground as far as health trends and all over the place. So what is the biggest health trend right now, and is it something that's a real thing?
My thing, I'm in the skin business, you know that.
Yeah.
And there's always crazy stuff in the skin business. You know what the latest thing in the skin business is? Beef tallow.
Beef tallow?
Beef tallow on your skin. You probably haven't heard of this. You're not involved in skin that much. Isn't that disgusting?
Yeah.
Not a day goes by without somebody. That's exactly what it is. It's rendered beef fat. And that's the latest thing. And the skincare business is filled with misinformation and silly fads. Mm-hmm. I was just reading a really cool article today. I love doing, one of my favorite things to do is research. And I was just reading a really cool article. This is actually a medical article from a medical website about omega fats, omega-3 fats specifically, and prostate disease and prostate cancer. And, I've known about essential fats, and I talk about essential fats. I've talked about them for years. But it turns out that omega, according to this article that was on, what is this site here? This is MD Edge, which is a medical website. Omega-3 diet may slow prostate cancer. I thought that was kind of cool. Omega-3s are very difficult to find in foods. You got to eat a lot of fish, and you got to eat your fish. You can't overcook your fish. Fish being the best sources of omega-3s. There's grains. Hemp seed oil is a good source of omega-3s. And then also flaxseed oil. And there is flaxseed oil in Youngevity's ProstFX. But in order to get your omega-3s, really get a good healthy dose of omega-3s, you got to supplement with them. You're not going to get them from food, although this article did talk about an omega-3 diet. And that's one of the really cool things about supplementation. It's so difficult to eat correctly, even if you're eating correctly. In other words, even if you're really paying attention to the kind of foods you eat, it's very difficult to get the nutrients that you need from just eating foods. Aside from the fact that we cook our foods and our foods have to be stored and they have to be transported, the soils are deficient in the minerals. And even when you pick the berry off the tree or the bush or the apple off the tree or the corn out of the ground, it doesn't have the nutrients that it's supposed to have because the soils are so deficient. And this is a problem that's been going on for over 100 years. There's actually a Senate paper that was written in the year, it was 1920 or 1921, where they talked about the impact of mineral deficiencies in the soils. Can you imagine this? Over 100 years ago, they knew that there were mineral deficiencies in the soils that were impacting the nutritional value of crops. And the situation's only gotten worse. And then, as I say, if you compound that with our fast-paced lifestyle and cooking and processing and now they have ultra-processing, it's next to impossible to get what you need from food. Thus the importance of nutritional supplementation, and that explains the benefits that people get, which are indisputable.
I like it, Ben. And the other thing, you want to make sure that you're getting good quality supplements, right?
Very difficult to find to know whether your supplements are quality, and that's another thing about Youngevity. They've been around for 28 years. You are guaranteed high quality. Mm-hmm. Couldn't have lasted this long if their supplements weren't high quality and people weren't getting benefits from them.
831-479-1080 if you want to speak with pharmacist Ben Fuchs. We are live today. We are on the air. It is 6:30.
No podcast? We're not going to do a podcast?
Probably not, Ben. I mean, this seems to be...
I like doing live. I'm all about live.
Oh, me too. It is so much better if we can. I mean, if you can, it'd be great to do this as a regular thing, but we'll talk about that off the air. So Ben, one of the stories we've been talking about today is this fire that happened last month in Moss Landing, and people are concerned about heavy metal toxins from that fire landing on our food, in our soil, getting in our brain.
And they should be. And that, I don't know if you heard about microplastics. That's another issue too. And it turns out that plant-derived ionic minerals, and fulvic minerals, which are in the in all of the basic Youngevity products, of course, the Beyond Tang Tangerine and the Mineral Toddy, they're the best heavy metal detoxes you can use. It turns out when you take in good minerals, your body uses the good minerals and excretes the bad minerals, the heavy metals. So that's on top of their nutritional value. It turns out that plant-derived minerals are incredibly detoxifying. They're a great way for people who are interested in doing detox diets or detox strategies. They're a great way for people to leverage the power of the detoxification power of nutrition is plant-derived minerals. Did you know that? We don't talk about that much.
No, we don't.
Those properties of plant-derived minerals, colloidal minerals and ionic minerals. These things are so fantastic above and beyond their nutritional value. Of course, when you get plant-derived minerals, you're getting your magnesium and your zinc and your calcium and all these nutrients that are important for biochemistry to occur, for biochemical reactions to occur. All minerals act to facilitate biochemistry. But what they also do is they improve the ability of other things to get into the body, good things to get into the body. They improve penetration of vitamin C and vitamin D and E and A and K and the B complex. They improve the penetration of other nutrients, and they improve detoxification of the poisons above and beyond their own benefits. In other words, you're getting the nutritional benefits of the magnesium and the zinc and the calcium and the iron and the selenium, et cetera, but you're also getting better penetration of other nutrients, and you're getting detoxification. And that's really quite amazing. And these are things that we don't even talk about. There's so many wonderful, amazing non-nutritional benefits to plant-derived minerals. It makes them uniquely situated in the pantheon of nutrients. Plant-derived ionic minerals have that kind of potency and power above and beyond their strictly nutritional value.
47,
cool, right?
Very interesting, Ben. 479-1080, we are hanging out with pharmacist Ben Fuchs. You can give us a call or send a text message. Ben, somebody came in here the other day. She was covered in skin. She had, skin. And
skin?
Yeah, she had skin. And she was asking about low blood sugar. And I thought she was going to ask something about skin, but no, she asked about low blood sugar, what she should do. And I was like, I don't know. I know what to do for high blood sugar.
Right. So what do you think you would do if you'd have low blood sugar, hypoglycemia?
Eat more sugar.
Yeah, eat more sugar. But actually, hypoglycemia is actually caused by eating too much sugar. You want to explain that? Yeah. I'll explain that to you. It's very interesting. When you eat sugar is really important for the body, but only in small amounts. Excess sugar is very damaging. In fact, excess sugar can burn things. This burning effect is technically, from a biological perspective, they call glycation, but I just call it burning. Sugar has a caustic burning property. And when sugar is floating around in the blood, because the blood obviously is going everywhere, wherever the blood is contacting, that area, that tissue that the blood is contacting is going to be susceptible to burning. And this is especially problematic in the blood vessels themselves. I don't remember if we ever talked about this, Dave, because I talk about this a lot with other folks. There are certain blood vessels in your body that are so thin and tiny that you can't see them with your eyes. You need a microscope to see them. Can you imagine how thin that is? I mean, a hair is thin. This is tens, maybe even hundreds of times thinner than a hair we're talking about. And these are blood vessels. They carry blood, right? Incredible, right? And they're particularly found in the eyes and in the kidneys and in the extremities. And when you have sugar in these tiny blood vessels, capillaries, the sugar has ready access to the surface of the capillary and can burn those capillaries. And this is why people who have high blood sugar are so susceptible to, number one, problems at the extremities, and amputations occur in diabetics much more frequently than any other demographic group. This is also why blindness is a problem among diabetics, because you have these tiny blood vessels are in the eyes. And it's also, and this is probably, well, I don't say most problematic, but certainly very problematic, this is why the kidneys are so susceptible to damage from sugar, because the kidneys are packed with these little capillaries. That's how they work, actually. The capillaries act as filters. And this is why kidney disease is becoming so prevalent. It's almost like an epidemic, kidney disease. And your kidneys are so important that the body has developed redundancy. You have two kidneys, first of all. And within those kidneys, you have a lot of extra capacity so that you can have 80% of your kidneys can be non-functional, and you can still be okay. It's only when you start to get to below 20% that you really, really run into severe problems. I mean, you're still going to run into problems even at 30% capacity, but you don't get into real severe problems until 80% of your kidney function has declined, and even with that high standard, and even with all that redundancy, kidney disease is becoming a very, very, very serious problem. And it is certainly life-threatening. And I don't know if you've ever seen dialysis machines. Have you ever seen anybody on dialysis machines?
No.
There are people that have to sit down on in a dialysis machine, which basically acts like a kidney, for 3 hours a day, sometimes every day.
Wow.
You got to sit in a chair. Can you imagine this? You got to sit in a chair, and you got to sit there for 3 hours every single day, or 5 days a week sometimes, or just frequently. And you sit there and you let this dialysis machine clean your blood, and it's all because the kidneys are not functional, and almost always that has to do with sugar, although other blood toxicities can do it. But almost always it's a sugar problem for people who are dealing with chronic kidney disease. Now, if you have poisoning, there are certain poisons, blood poisons, that will do it. But for most people that have kidney disease, it's a chronic, ongoing condition, and almost always it's related to sugar. And listen, I'm a sugar junkie as much as anybody. I love the taste of sugar, and we're hardwired to love sugar. You ever wonder why sugar tastes so darn good?
No, I just know it does taste good.
It does taste good, right?
Yeah.
Everyone loves sugar.
Yeah,
Sugar tastes so good, and it's right. It's great, and it's so addicting that there are companies that will actually put salt in their sweet food so they can put more sugar in it.
Wow.
You ever see? Isn't that sneaky? You'll see.
It's sneaky. That's smart, but it's sneaky.
Right?
Yeah.
They cover up the sugar with salt because even though you can't taste the sugar, you're still going to get addicted to it. So, Hostess Twinkies will have salt in them because they can allow them to load them up with more sugar. And the reason that sugar tastes so darn good, and the reason why we can't, most of us anyway, can't get off the sugar, is because the body it's evolved over the course of hundreds of thousands of millions of years to just go crazy when it sees sugar. Because many years ago, the only way we get sugar was to stick our hand in a beehive. That's how our ancestors on the African savannah got sugar. They'd have to go get honey from a bee, or they got lucky if they found a berry or a crab apple or something on the African savannah. But basically, there was no sweet, there was no sugar. And the body's number one priority is to find energy, which is what sugar is. It's quick energy. So we evolved mechanisms to just go love sugar.
Ben, I don't want to sound rude, but I want to get to these phone calls and text messages and things like that. So what should I tell her if she does come back? And she's
the low blood sugar gal. The low blood sugar gal. What you want to tell her? She wants to. The best thing to do is to wean herself off of sugar, so her insulin is not as potent. What happens is that when you eat a lot of sugar, your insulin becomes very potent.
Okay.
You start to secrete a lot of insulin, especially if you're dealing with insulin resistance. So you want to resensitize your body to insulin, so that your body doesn't have to secrete as much insulin. And the way you do that is by laying off sugar. Believe it or not.
Would the keto diet or some kind of carnivore diet be helpful?
Absolutely. Keto diet's great for that. Paleo diet, which is not as good, but still it's a good diet for people who have sugar problems. There's an amino acid called glutamine, Glutamine, which is in the Longevity Fit Shake and the TMR meal replacement. By the way, that TMR meal replacement is stupendously delicious, especially if you're a sugar junkie and there's no real sugar in there, although there is some sweetness. And by the way, sometimes people want sweeteners like stevia to replace their sugar. Mm-hmm. Even those have a little bit of a problem associated with it. They're not as damaging to the body or as caustic to proteins as sugar is, but still they're a little bit problematic. So we really want to wean ourselves off of that sweet taste as much as possible.
Doesn't stevia make you toot? Doesn't it kind of make, No,
not stevia. Well, toot, did you say?
Yeah.
And it can cause a little GI problems. That's how we say. We don't say toot in the medicine. We say GI issues.
All right, Ben. Let's get out to the phone lines and see what Wendy has to say. She's calling from Ben Lomond. You're in the air, Wendy.
Oh, you opened me with GI issues. Oh, my goodness.
GI.
I love it. I did want to clarify. You say sugar, but do you mean glucose?
Oh, well, very good. Yes, I do exactly mean glucose, although fructose is also involved. Fructose and glucose are the two most problematic sugars. We use the term sugar colloquially, but yes, usually we're referring to glucose, fructose, or sucrose, which is a combination. That's table sugar, which is a combination of glucose and fructose.
And I was wondering, is
corn syrup?
starch?
Now they use corn syrup. Yeah, starch is not the same. No, starch is not the same.
But isn't starch linked glucose? I mean, actually a lot more than in sugar in some ways.
Yeah, well, that's very good. Are you a healthcare professional? Or
no, I'm a friend of the UCSC library. They had a wonderful book on carbohydrates.
That's very good. Yes, starch is a long chain of glucose, And because it's a long chain, it doesn't have a sweet taste to it, and it doesn't change your blood sugar. Because it's a long chain, it's what technically called a polymer or a polysaccharide. And no, it doesn't have anywhere near the issues associated with the problems associated with the glucose, which is really fast-acting, does, or fructose for that matter. Fructose is even more problematic in some ways. And then I was saying sucrose, which is a combination of glucose and fructose. And now they have this stuff called high fructose corn syrup, which I'm sure you've heard of. And that's thought to be extremely problematic when it comes to obesity issues and
there's nothing to stop fructose. It goes everywhere. Yeah, you have insulin is like the key to cells for
insulin
glucose.
Is the key.
Yeah.
You know what? Insulin is the key to understanding insulin. I'll say is the key to understanding chronic disease. And I don't know if you ever heard me talk about what I call the triangle of disease, which are the 3 points of bodily breakdown that lead to all other chronic diseases: heart disease, cancer, autoimmunity, movement disorders, cognitive decline or Alzheimer's, dementia. All these kinds of things are related to 3 points of bodily breakdown. And the middle point is the blood sugar system. The first point is the digestive system. That's always the fundamental part of the body that breaks down when we're dealing with a chronic degenerative disease. Always, and it's always the first point you want to work on. The second point is the blood sugar system and insulin. And insulin resistance or metabolic syndrome, what they call it today, they used to call it Syndrome X, is behind all of our health miseries, along with GI problems. And then the third point in the triangle of disease, it's really the jumping off point, but you can't really do anything about this I call it the adrenal thyroid axis. You can't really do anything about that without addressing your blood sugar and your digestive system, which is very important because it tells you we have so much control. The medical folks don't want us to believe that. They don't want us to believe that. They don't want us to think your mother has diabetes.
Yeah.
Well, they want us to think that we're condemned to disease and that your mother had this disease or it's in your genes, it's in your genetics, blah, blah, blah. No. Our health challenges are largely lifestyle-based, and there's so much control that we have over how these chronic diseases show up. And it's like, it's in the Bible, 1200 AD or 1100 AD in the Book of Kings, my people perish for lack of knowledge. And the situation is still happening today, and it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, I'll go to 1,000. Yeah. Let's believe the Bible. The Bible starts with, he was 700 years old, he was 800 years old, and he's almost 1,000. Well, we don't believe that.
You don't necessarily want to be in a human form for that long, maybe, but we certainly don't want to fall apart. We don't want to degenerate and deteriorate, and that's really the problem with aging is that we deteriorate.
And I have worked with centurions, and if you're there, you're there. And if anything, you look at someone's face, we expose our face to the sun far too much, and I think it degrades it. An elder body is not necessarily like their face. I mean, you can,
Do you work with elder folks?
Yeah, CNA.
Oh, you're CNA. Oh, that's awesome. How do you like it? How do you like being a CNA?
I haven't done it for years. I moved, and it's terrible that they put state boundaries on your certification. I was in Colorado. Yeah.
Well, I have a friend in Colorado, and she's studying to get her CNA. So I'll tell her that I talked to somebody on the radio who's a Colorado CNA. Where'd you go to school?
Actually. Back in New York. That's why I know so much about trying to move your certification. And I started as a home health aide, and then got with the CNA.
And what do you do now?
With VNA, yeah.
What do you do now?
I work with my own. I'm a homemaker. Yeah, which is it's hard to say that, isn't it? It's like, oh no, that's not a job. It's the hardest job I ever had. It's like, I have to do everything I used to do and get paid for it.
Yeah, that's a legitimate job, and you don't get a paycheck.
Yeah, I'd rather go to work. The heck with working at home, doing all that stuff. Change the litter box, change the babies, do all that stuff. No way.
You get a lot more love, though. Don't you get a lot more love?
Thank you for... Who, me?
Hope so. Not you.
Oh.
You get a lot of love with a paycheck. Yeah.
What's that? You'd rather have a paycheck or a lot of love?
Well, I found a lot of love in a lot of love working for a paycheck as well, and working for the family. I don't like to have to say it under my breath. Oh, I'm a homemaker, especially here because we have crazy homes. I saw on the 9 News that they're complaining about the maintenance cost of the mega homes compared to Santa Cruz. Mega homes, okay? You know, we used to have jokes about Californians moving to Colorado. They didn't have any furniture in their McMansions.
Thank you for the call, Wendy. We got to move on, though. 831-479-1080. Steve, our good... Yes, Ben?
Do you have a lot of furniture in your mansion?
I just have a couch, Ben. They're
Right,
milk crates. It's a board on top of milk crates.
I have beanbag chairs in my mansion.
Oh, that's cool. We have a call from a text from our friend Steve. I think we covered this in our podcast. And by the way, The Mineral Way is the name of the podcast. It's available on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio. It's available everywhere. The Mineral Way is what it's called. And if you go there, you're going to see the labels. Everything is labeled, the topics that we covered and all that stuff. But Steve is asking about flourless cake mix. Ben?
Well, I don't exactly know what that is, but I can tell you that flour is one of the hidden problems we have in our food supply. Because flour, which is made from grain, obviously, whether it's wheat grain or buckwheat or whatever kind of grain it's made from, contains rancid fats. And we never think about flour as being fatty, but it is. And because of the processing of flour, the fats become rancid. And this is a really serious health issue. Doc's been talking about this for a long time, and I've been talking about it for years as well, is the ingestion of oxidized, i.e. rancid fats. And this is a big problem, not only because of this problem associated with food. All of our cell membranes, particularly our nerve cells, depend on quality fats. And when you ingest rancid fats, your body tries to make cells and cell membranes from rancid fats. And so we all have rancid brains, and we have rancid cells. And this is one of the reasons why chronic disease has the rates of chronic disease have increased as our ingestion of processed fats have increased. And a lot of people are now talking about the problem with seed oils. Have you heard of this?
Oh, yeah.
Kind of the latest thing in health, right? Mm-hmm. Well, seed oils, obviously, salad oil and stuff that you get at the supermarket in the oil section, those are problematic. But people don't realize that these rancid oils are found in baked goods. And they're found in flour. And let me tell you another nasty, insidious place where these rancid oils are found. You ready?
Girl Scout cookies. Don't tell me Girl Scout cookies, Ben. I will flip out.
Well, I wasn't going to tell you that, but yes, Girl Scout cookies. But in injections, the kind of injections the government wants you to take. You know what I'm talking about? I can't say the word.
Oh, yeah, I know. Yes.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
They're made with rancid fats. And nobody talks about these things. And you inject them right into your blood. And so the next time a healthcare professional tells you how safe, and I know there's a lot of knucklehead technocrats or techno boys out there in Santa Cruz, some of them listening to this program probably, who are all about injecting things into their skin, or into their blood through their skin. They should know that one of the problems with these injections is that they're made with rancid fats. The fats that the molecules are protected by these lipo bubbles, they call them, and many of these lipo bubbles, there's no way to know whether they're rancid. You could pretty much assume that they are. So rancidity of fats, ingestion of rancid fats is a serious problem, particularly for the intestine. And rancid fats are one of the reasons why people deal with leaky gut. Have you heard of this condition, leaky gut?
Yes, sir.
Permeability? And that's when I talked about earlier how the first point on this triangle of disease, the first point of bodily breakdown that leads to chronic disease is leaky gut, intestinal permeability issues, and one of the causes of intestinal permeability is processed fat. Now, these processed fats are most dramatically and egregiously interacted with, and we put them into our system through French fries and fried chicken and deep-fried Twinkies and Snickers bars. Yes, that's a thing, deep-fried Twinkies and deep-fried Snickers bars. And all of these kind of heated processed fats inflame tissue. They're extremely inflammatory. They damage cells. They're pro-carcinogenesis. And we're eating them like they're going out of style. And one of the reasons why we're eating them so much and why we love them so much is because we're fat deficient. Yes, fat deficient. In quality fat, in good fat. And as bad fat is, that's how good fat is, especially ultimate EFA and ultimate EFA plus fat. And one of the things that people notice when they start supplementing with the ultimate EFAs and ultimate EFA plus is you don't crave fat as much because you're getting quality fat, nutritional fat, almost like vitamin fat. And that's what your EFAs are. So to answer the question that gentleman asked, flour is a big problem. I don't know what flourless cake is, so I can't really speak to that.
Is it maybe something like made with taro root? Is that a thing? I don't know. Almond flour.
Flour. Well, it has to have flour, I would think, if it was a cake. I don't know how. I'm not familiar with that.
We'll pick that up on another episode. But I have Craig. He's calling from Campbell, and we only have 5 minutes, Ben. So let's see what we can do with Craig. You're in the air, Craig. Thank you for the call.
Are you saying that I ramble too much?
No, I didn't say that.
Yeah, you do ramble too much. But hey, Ben, you're citing the Bible, man. You said A.D. 1200 A.D. You want B.C. When you go on coast to coast,
I'm sorry.
You don't want to sound crazy on coast to coast. So remember, 1200 B.C.
Yeah, B.C. You're right. Yeah, you're absolutely correct.
Hey,
thank you for that.
Do you guys have any supplement? I know a few.
Actually,
people
it was like 800. It was like 800 B.C. It was the Book of Kings. I'm pretty sure that was. Yeah. All right.
The Old Testament is B.C., man. You don't want to make that mistake on the national show. But
no, thank you for pointing that out. That's true.
Yeah, do you guys have any supplements for? I know a few people with TDS, Trump derangement syndrome. Any supplements for that?
With Trump derangement syndrome? Yes.
Yeah.
The remedy for Trump derangement syndrome is vote Democratic, I guess. I don't know. I don't know politics.
Hey, I got a serious one here. I bought from Dave the Sweeties, and I'm glad I did, the longevity sweetie. It works for me. If I eat a carbohydrate meal, I'll take that right over there a little bit before it's good, and it works. It works, and it really, I can tell just by the way I feel. I'm not quite diabetic, but I know a guy who's diabetic. I don't want to say his name, but I'll give his initials.
I know his initials. Yeah, right.
MZ. I want him to remain anonymous.
We don't know who that is. Just give his initials. We don't want to mention his name. We don't mention his name. Just give his initials.
Okay, but to be fair and honest, he has some serious diabetes. He told me that this stuff doesn't work on him. But a guy on me who's like pre-diabetic, it works beautifully. I'll take a couple of them, and I can really feel it, man. But
heck yeah, I've been taking it for years. And also, by the way, it's the best. The nutrients in sweeties, and pretty much all nutrients that help you with your sugar, will also lower your blood cholesterol. And the reason why people's cholesterol is high is because their sugar's high. Elevated blood sugar and elevated cholesterol go hand in hand. And the next time somebody tells you need a statin drug for your cholesterol, you'd be way better off going ketogenic, using magnesium, niacin, the sweeties, all the nutrients that help you process sugar.
Yeah, I got a quick one here.
Yes, sir.
Probably nobody's ever asked you this, but I get the fancy prancy Mount Hagen's organic fair trade instant coffee. Now I know it's processed, but it's good. I mean, what do you think about just off the top?
You've got some medicinal. You want to hear something funny, Craig? I had never
instant coffee, man.
I've never tasted coffee. I don't even know what it tastes like because my mom used to try to kiss me with her coffee breath, and I used to be repulsed by it, and I never liked coffee ever since. But I will say that there is some medicinal value to the coffee bean. Absolutely, you can get some medicinal quality. Tea is even more medicinal. So if you can do tea, that's even better than coffee, and you don't get quite the caffeine hit, as much caffeine from tea. Green tea in particular, you'll get a little bit of caffeine, but you get a lot of anti-aging and nutritional value from green tea.
And I realize that, but this is freeze-dried, specifically freeze-dried instant coffee. What do you think about that?
Well, I don't know what you mean. You just add water and it becomes coffee, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, it's coffee. I would assume that some of the processing is going to take some of the nutritional value out of it, but it's still, coffee's got some really nice nutritional value. I can't deny that. There's some really solid phytonutrition in the coffee bean, and there's also minerals in the coffee bean. So, it's got there's an upside to coffee for sure.
What about white tea?
Or otherwise.
White tea. White tea is a young plant. Nobody ever talks about white tea.
It's the young plant. Yeah. The young plant, it's the young stuff that has the nutritional value. That's why sprouts, for example, are more nutritious than the adult plant. Broccoli sprouts, for example, have more nutrition than the broccoli. When you think about it, a youthful plant is supercharged with nutrition so it can grow. When you're old, you don't have to grow, whether you're a person or whether you're a plant. It's the young plants and the young life forms that have the most nutritional value. So yes, absolutely, green tea and white tea, those are more useful, if you will.
Thank you for the call, Craig. We are out of time, though, Ben, and that means, this is another example of why when Pharmacist Ben Fuchs is on the air, boy, you got to get on the phones quick because the time just flies by when we're hanging out with Pharmacist Ben.
Well, it's always great to talk to you, Dave, and I can't wait to talk to you next Monday on The Mineral Way.
I love it, Ben. We'll see you next week. Hey, KSEO Santa Cruz. hanging out tonight with the great pharmacist Ben Fuchs. Always a treat whenever he stops by. Is he gone now? Okay. Whew, man, that was I'm just kidding, Ben. That was a great show, Ben. Thank you for joining us here on Flight 1080. Thank you to everybody who called in. I mean, the Mineral Way. Headlines are up next. This is KSCO.